2009 Mercedes C300. And as you can see, what I'm going to be doing right here, sorry for the noise, we're live action shop, a real shop that actually works. And we're going to do a little comparison here between what the insurance company demands the body shop to put on the car compared to what the OEM manufacturer put on the car. By looking at these two, can you see a difference? Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, let's look at that one. And let's look at that one. Do you see a difference? Let's see if I could do a little overlap here. Now this is the kind of shit you would never ever want on your own personal car, or you wouldn't even want to put this on a customer's car, especially if you live in a hot climate. Check this out. Can you see the fin count there? You see that number 24? That means in 1 inch, there's 24 fins. There we go. So I have it marked from the first fin to the last fin. In 1 inch, there's a 24 fin count per inch. Then, on the aftermarket piece of shit that they have up here, from the first fin to the last fin, there's only 14 fins per inch. Now, let's see where else the aftermarket cheats you at. Let's see if I can really zoom back out here. Tube count. You can see I mark them with a little black pen as I go along. I mark them so I make sure I don't lose count. We have 65 refrigerant cooling fin passage tubes that go through here. On the aftermarket, we only have 60. So they cheat you a little bit on your cooling refrigerant passage tubes, and they cheat you on your fin. They cheat you a lot on the fins on this particular manufacturer. These are the kinds of things you want to train your eyes. If you're going to be any good at, especially if you live in hot places like, say, Florida, it's 80 or 90% humidity, it's 80 degrees out. There's an area in Florida south. I was just at, when I was at Brian Orb Symposium, there was a gentleman giving a speech on humidity, and he was dynamite for residential, commercial stuff like that. There's an area in Florida that their average every day is, really high humidity and really high temperatures, even in the winter time. They're like right on the border of, they're considered tropical, but that's in the United States, in the bottom end of Florida. So when you want to dissipate heat, the more fin space you have, the more fins, the more heat you can absorb from the hot refrigerant that's in the cooling passage tubes. And as the air goes through, it can dissipate the heat. The more cooling passage tubes you have, the more heat you can dissipate. That's connected to more fins. Well, in this case, you get both or less. Less fins, less cooling passage tubes. Then, if I was to take a saw and I was to cut these open and we were to look down in the side, there's actually fins inside the refrigerant passage tubes that are flat tubes that go like this. There would be fewer fins inside these aftermarket fins than the OEM. So when you're going along and you don't know, I have an advantage here because I'm in body shops every day. I train myself every day as I'm doing a job. So I'm doing this one right here. And as you can see, I recovered this last month because this is the 3rd month. And you could see my sticker on here. When I started my recovery, it was on sometime last month. And we're already in the 3rd month right now. I go around to every car and I inspect before and after the damage. I go and I pull the old part and I do a comparison. I notated down on the work order, this condenser will work perfectly in San Francisco, in low climate zones where the ambient temperatures are low, but he may experience troubles when he goes somewhere like Las Vegas, Texas, Florida, in the summertime at peak temperatures. Even here in the Bay Area of San Francisco, if he goes across the bay, we have an area that hits 103, 105 degrees through the summertime. If this person goes over there, they may be suffering, or their compressor will be overworking really hard. So what you do is every time, like this one here, I just did a recovery on this one. And this is all going to come apart. This is going to come out. And if it did get a new condenser, I compare the new to old. But what I do every day, you know, because you know I'm usually between 6 shops to 10 shops a day. And I go around and I inspect the air conditioning on every vehicle. I get to see vehicles that are 2022 vehicles, just got in an accident the day the customer buys them. So I get to go around and inspect all the parts. But this is going to get a new condenser on it, and so I'll do a comparison to front and rear. I always take myself down and I look at the compressors. I try to get familiar with the compressors, and I try to look for the factory stickers or labels on them if I could find them. Let's see if we can find one on this one. Nope, no such luck on this one. But try to familiarize yourself. See, up here they only put down PEG, PAG. They don't tell you what kind of PEG that they put in there. There's different kind of PAG oils. So that's where I go down to the, oh, there it is. Sandin. Let's see what we have here. I see a sticker there at the top. A Denso. So this will be a Denso. And will this be a ND-12? Let's see what we got here. Let me zoom in. Come on. So you look at the sticker, and this is where you're going to get your information for which oil you want. And I'm having an issue here. All right. That's going to be a hard one. This is where I break out my bore scope. So I would get my bore scope and I'd push my bore scope lens right down on top of the compressor right there. You can't see, you could see the compressor and you could barely see the sticker. So if I could not read it from here, because I carry my bore scope, and you just whip out the bore scope and you send your little telescope, microscope, bore scope down and search around the compressor. Send it up on the back side, send it up underneath, and look for your oil sticker. And that's what I'm going to have to do on this one because my eyes are getting bad. I'm going to admit that. And take down the type of oil, and then you know what type of oil to put back in the vehicle. But I know it's a Denso, and I know it's a PAG. I know it's a YF refrigerant. So if I had to guess, this is only guess, never guess, always RTFM and read the manual. I'm going to guess without looking at it, but I'm going to get my bore scope, that this is ND-12 refrigerant oil on this one. Then on this one over here, we have the electric compressor, and their sticker is missing. Let's see if the sticker is missing. Let's see, they got a new hood up here. They're putting new stickers on it. Here's our condenser, FOMOCO, assembled in Mexico. So we have our factory Ford condenser here. And if it was being replaced, I would compare it to the aftermarket. We have another front ender over there. And we have the, remember the Prius I looked on last week and I released the video on? Let's see. Another front ender over there, another front ender over there. Where's that Prius? Oh, they had it. Oh, they were washing it. Where in the hell did that Prius go? Ah, there it goes. So this is the Prius with the condenser, with the accumulator assembly that's being removed that I released a video a week or two ago. So they do a really good job of wrapping they make sure nothing gets damaged, nothing gets lost, nothing gets into electrical connectors or anything like that. This shop, this is Select Auto Body. They're an excellent shop. And actually this is where I take my personal car and have fixed. This is one of, if I have 1,200 shops on my list of shops I go to the last 30 years up and down the peninsula, I'm sad to say I have only about 5 that I would recommend myself or family go to. That's really sad. Okay, so this is where that $2,600 accumulator assembly goes on this one right here. The OEM condenser is staying behind, so that'll stay there because the hit was only right here on the bumper cover. So I'm gonna get back to that Mercedes and it's time to fill it up. And I can't remember if I did this Prius here. Yeah, this is another front end hitter here. So this was done on the other side, and if you notice, if this was the Prius and the bumper gets cover on a Prius that is a Prius Prime, you have an electric water pump over here with all the electrical connectors sticking out, and they're just right behind the plastic bumper cover. So when it gets smashed, it takes out the electrical connectors and breaks the plastic on them. And I think we have the Porsche. Always like to see what kind of condenser, what kind of setup they have. So this is the advantage of being able to go into body shops every day, is you literally get to go and see every kind of air conditioning setup, how they have their lines, find where they have like their little sensors. Sometimes they hide sensors that are out of sight and hard to get to. And train yourself on the type of connectors. Like you see these little type of block connectors here? On every manufacturer, they'll build them a little different. Well, you don't know if this was replaced with a factory or an aftermarket condenser. So if you train yourself over hundreds and thousands of condensers, you keep looking at them and you know what the OEM looks like. When you have a hard time diagnosing an AC system that doesn't cool in really hot temperature, and it's like one of those condensers that has fewer fins and fewer tubes, then you just tell them, sorry dude, you got to get rid of that aftermarket condenser before I diagnose, because I cannot diagnose correctly on a 105-degree day when you removed 1/4 or 1/2 of all the cooling fins, and you cut down, 15% of the cooling passage tubes on there to be cheaper. You just got to tell them, hey, here's $1,500, $1,800, like on that Mercedes, to replace the aftermarket one with an OEM one. Now I could properly do my diagnosis, because now I'll be dissipating the proper amount of heat that will bring the refrigerant temperature down, that will bring the refrigerant pressure down, and now the sensors can react to the proper refrigerant charge of refrigerant, to the proper pressures, and they'll send a signal to this automatic variable displacement compressor to properly flow the refrigerant based on all the parameters of pressures and temperatures. This system cannot properly manage this system with this condenser on it, this aftermarket condenser, compared to the aftermarket, or compared to the original. So if you really get your ass stuck on a car and you just cannot figure it out, try to find some labels on the condenser, try to find out the original fin and tube count, and tell them, like on this vehicle, they got to take it all apart. So this will be $1,800, and say, sorry, Mr. or Mrs. whatever, it's going to be $1,800 for me to pull off that aftermarket condenser, to put a new OEM condenser on there. Now I'll properly fill it up. Now I could start doing my diagnosis. That's reality. And if you don't like it, keep on guessing, because I see a lot of parts get unnecessarily changed for guys who get tripped up on this. And the guys have been in the business 15, 20, 30 years, and some of them are even radiator and air conditioning specialists in shops who do nothing but air conditioning, and they still fall for this one and make a lot of mistakes. All right, I'll see you guys. Bye.